Hello, welcome back. What I'd like to look at today is, again, starting with a once upon a time story. And this story is also in my book, The Side of Kindness. And it's an interesting chapter. And I'd like to present it to you today because it's a chapter that has a thought in it that maybe can help us through this period of Lent. It starts with a once upon a time story. Once upon a time, there was a woman who prepared a special roast every Sunday night for supper. But before putting the meat in the roasting pan, she would meticulously cut off both ends of the roast, then put it in the pan, and then put it in the oven. Finally, her husband asked her, "Why do you do that with the roast? You're cutting off a perfectly good piece of meat." She told him that that was the way her mother cooked, and so that was the way she was going to cook too. He actually suggested to her another way of cooking, and her response was, "But it's always been done this way." So when the mother came over one night, this woman's husband decided to ask the mother why she did that with the roast. The mother laughed and said that when she cooked her roast, the roasting pan was so small that she had to cut both ends off the meat so that it would fit in the pan. Maybe a laughable story, but a true story, especially when it points to something interesting. Because sometimes we do things because that's the way it was always done, but with no logical reason connected to it. And I ask the question, do you sometimes find yourself in a situation where you might make a suggestion for a change, but you're immediately met with the response, "But it can't be done that way because we always do it this way"? That kind of response quickly puts an end to any kind of conversation. When you hear the phrase, "but we always do it this way," you kind of know that you're going to run into some difficulties. Introducing a new idea, a new way of operating a business, or even a new way of looking at a problem can often be a moment of insight into a new way of thinking. Yet, when you hear that phrase, "but we always do it this way," those moments are thwarted because of that. And almost immediately, any possibility of change goes out the window. And you might as well go out the window too. At least for the moment, that might be how you feel. Change for some people is seen as such a threat that a mere suggestion of it shuts down any kind of crucial conversation. This may also resonate with you when you want to negotiate a change or a compromise or a dialogue. If there is no room for dialogue, no room for a differing opinion, no room for another person's point of view, then there's no room for growth or for change. Consider Henry Ford and his invention of the Ford assembly line. He decided to have cars move to the workers instead of, "but we always do it this way," the workers moving to the cars. That simple switch revolutionized the automobile industry. How did he think of this? Well, my guess is that he didn't really know exactly what the results would be when he decided to change his idea, change to the assembly line. But he decided to do something that wasn't the way it had always been done. And look what happened. Think about it. If you always find yourself thinking a certain way, or if you only allow yourself to think a certain way based on previous methods, then maybe your vision of the future will be just like your vision of the past. And those of us who are getting older have so much history that we can't imagine a new and different way of doing things, but it's always been done this way. So, when we are concentrating on the 7 last words of Jesus, we can also concentrate on the 7 last words that put an end to any possibility of change or even any possibility of conversation. Let's try not having our 7 last words be, quote, but we always do it this way, end quote. Instead, let's move our butt. Let's move it to the end of the sentence instead of the beginning of the sentence. Let's have our 7 last words be, quote, we always do it this way, but, end quote. Let's leave room for other options, other possibilities, other way of thinking, and other opinions, and then let's just see what happens. It's worth a try, and God knows it may lead to something totally new. Let's try it out. Okay? Have a good week. See you soon.